Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events from around the world. I'm your host, Walter, and I'm glad you're joining us today. We're starting off with a story that's making headlines in the UK and beyond. Two British Labour MPs died out. Abtizam Mohammed and Yuan Yang were denied entry to Israel over the weekend. The two lawmakers were on a trip to visit the occupied West Bank, but they were stopped at the airport and deported. The Israeli Immigration Authority claimed that the MPs were traveling to document the security forces and that they didn't believe the pair would comply with their laws. But the MPs themselves say they were simply trying to witness firsthand the situation on the ground. This incident has sparked a heated debate in the UK, with some politicians defending Israel's right to control its borders, while others are condemning the decision as an attack on democracy and freedom of speech. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has weighed in on the issue, saying that countries have the right to control their borders, and that she's more concerned about Labour MPs being unwelcome in other countries. But her comments have been met with criticism from across the political spectrum, with some accusing her of failing to stand up for British parliamentarians. Foreign Secretary David Lammy has called Badenoch's comments disgraceful, while Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey says she's shown unbelievably poor judgment. Even some Conservative MPs are speaking out against their leader's stance, saying that parliamentarians should be allowed free passage to other countries, especially allies like Israel. This story raises important questions about the balance between national security and individual freedoms, as well as the role of politicians in speaking truth to power. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that this incident has struck a nerve in the UK and beyond. As we consider the implications of this story, we want to hear from you. Should countries have the right to deny entry to foreign politicians? And what does this say about the state of democracy and free speech in our world today? We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. I'm your host, Walter. We're diving into the latest developments in the ongoing trade saga, where the US has imposed sweeping tariffs on imports from over 60 countries. The move has sparked market turmoil, with all three major stock indexes in the US plummeting more than 5% on Friday. Now, let's take a closer look at what's happening. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has downplayed the recent stock market falls, calling it an adjustment process. Meanwhile, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has insisted that tariffs are here to stay, saying they will definitely remain in place for days and weeks. But not everyone is convinced. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has warned that the world as we knew it has gone and has urged the US to reconsider its approach. And it's not just the UK. Dozens of countries have expressed concerns about the tariffs, with some, like Indonesia and Taiwan, opting not to impose retaliatory measures. China, on the other hand, has announced plans to impose a 34% tariff on all US imports, starting Thursday. This move is seen as a significant escalation in the trade tensions between the two nations. As we navigate this complex and rapidly evolving situation, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives. While some argue that the tariffs will help level the playing field for American businesses, others warn of a potential trade war that could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. We've seen protests across the US, with hundreds of thousands of people taking to the streets to express their opposition to the tariffs and other aspects of the administration's agenda. And as we look ahead to the coming days and weeks, one thing is clear. The impact of these tariffs will be closely watched by markets, businesses, and governments around the world. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. Today, we've been discussing the latest developments in politics and social movements. As we wrap up this episode, I want to bring your attention to a story that's been gaining momentum across the country. Over the weekend, thousands of people took to the streets in cities and towns nationwide to participate in hands-off rallies, protesting against the policies of President Trump and his administration. The demonstrations were largely peaceful, with participants from all walks of life, including students, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. According to reports, protesters expressed concerns about a wide range of issues, including cuts to Social Security, tariffs, attacks on scientific research, and the dismantling of USAID. Many attendees also voiced their opposition to the administration's handling of immigration and deportation policies. Now, it's worth noting that some supporters of the president have downplayed the significance of these protests, with some even suggesting that participants were bussed in or lacked a clear understanding of the issues at hand. However, based on accounts from journalists and eyewitnesses, it appears that many protesters were well informed and motivated by a desire to stand up for their rights and the rights of others. As we consider the implications of these protests, it's essential to acknowledge the diversity of perspectives and experiences within our society. While some individuals may support the president's policies, others are clearly concerned about the direction of the country. By listening to and engaging with one another, we can work towards a more nuanced understanding of the complex issues at play. It's also important to recognize that peaceful protests are an essential part of our democratic process, allowing citizens to express their opinions and hold elected officials accountable. As we move forward, it will be crucial to continue monitoring the responses of our leaders to these protests and to ensure that all voices are heard. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay informed.